Okay, I'd like to call this meeting to order. And we have Trustee Sipkar on phone this evening, and we have Trustee Hatfield also on phone this evening. All other trustees are in person, including our student trustees. Approval of agenda. Trustee Leclerc and Trustee Buckler, any discussion on the agenda this evening? All in favor? And that passes. So now what we're going to do is convene to private session, and we'll be back at 7 p.m. Can I have a mover for moving? Trustee Leclerc and Trustee Buckler, all in favor? We'll see everybody at 7.
I'm going to call the meeting to order now, and we'll start with our land acknowledgement, please. Trustee Burgess has agreed to do it for us this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for asking. We acknowledge that we are on land and surrounded by water, originally inhabited by Indigenous peoples who have traveled this area since time immemorial. This territory is within the lands honored by the Wampum Treaties, agreements between the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Lenni, Lenape, and allied nations to peacefully share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. Specifically, we would like to acknowledge the presence of the Three Fires Confederacy, Ojibwe, Odawa, Potawatomi, and Huron-Wendat peoples. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture while remaining committed to moving forward respectfully with all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis.
Thank you very much, Trustee Burgess. We as the Ed Committee have tasked ourselves with the responsibility of researching where we have been, what has happened, and as a result of COVID, and where we are planning on going and how to recover. As a result of this, we have this beautiful graphic done by Superintendent Howitt and her department, and I appreciate that in support of our goal to come and share this information with our communities as to what this board is doing to move forward from where we've been. And I look forward to working together with both Superintendent Howitt and Trustee McKinley. For our attendance this evening, we have all trustees here. We have Trustee Sipcar on the phone and Trustee Hatfield on the phone. May I start with approval of the agenda for this evening? Trustee Leclerc and Trustee Cook. Do we have any declarations of conflict of interest this evening? Oh, sorry, all in favor? Sorry. I've been a long time. Thank you. Any declarations of conflict of interest? Seeing none. May I have approval for the minutes? Trustee Leclerc, Trustee Burgess, and we have corrections. Trustee Burgess?
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just a small correction, and I've already alerted Ms. Pavia. There's just a little typo. That's all on page 1 as far as Vice Chair of Ed Committee and Chair of Ed Committee. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you, Trustee Burgess. With that correction, may I have approval of the minutes? Trustee Leclerc, Trustee Cook, all in support? All supporting. Thank you very much. Is there any business arising from the minutes? Seeing none. We'll start with our presentation with Superintendent Howitt.
Sorry. Good evening, everyone, and I'm pleased to be here this evening to present on JK registration in the board. The focus of the presentation is to celebrate how we inform and support parents and support the great staff and programming that we have working in and throughout our system. JK registration this year is available officially through starting on February 21st to March 3rd. We have a system committee representative of our union partners, secretarial staff, special education, administration, and program staff that work together to determine the direction of how we're supporting schools and informing families during JK registration. We develop a kindergarten handbook that is made available to our schools to guide them in that process. It's really about making sure staff feel really comfortable about preparing for JK registration. I should include also administrators are on that system committee. One of the ways that we inform families is through our posters. You'll see an example of the poster there on the screen. It comes in various sizes. You'll see them throughout the communities, in grocery stores and so on. They are translated into multiple languages: English, Arabic, Mandarin, Spanish, Low German, High German, Somali, and French. We also have a presence on social media. You'll see examples of some images. Each and every one of our elementary principals have done a personal commentary video that is on social media, inviting families to come to JK registration night and to come and check out their school and what we offer in public education. Additionally, we have print material that we share throughout the system. Here you'll see a Windsor Life advertorial that is featuring our very own Craig Guthrie and Deanna Pikaski-McClellan and focusing on tech education and kids using STEAM in our schools and the focus of STEAM in our schools. We also have a presence in the Windsor Star and various community papers throughout the county, such as the Rivertown Times, the Lakeshore News, the LaSalle Post, etc. We also have YouTube videos, and I'll just play this little brief one for you. And if I can name that tune, if you haven't realized, that's the Greater Essex song music that's being played in the background that we're very proud of as well. And, oh, sorry. Yeah, my apologies. It's kind of catchy, isn't it? Yeah. And we also do ads on social media, and we feature students from throughout the district. And during the night of JK registration at the open house, when the children come, we take pictures of the students. We do them in the Greater Essex frames or the school frames. We even do them in the ads that we do on social media and provide them to parents because everybody's so excited when their child registers for school. So that's a way of celebrating. In terms of support for families, we offer the JK Reg bag that says, I have big plans, ... aspirational reaching for the stars for our youngest learners. In that bag, we include bookmarks that include seeds that parents can plant with their children and watch it grow till school starts. We have a copy of our very own JK book with QR codes to support students with reading. And we have the very famous sponge school bus, and we've talked about removing that bus, and everybody's like, no, the children love that bus. So we keep that, and then every school adds some swag to personalize and welcome them to their family and community. And we offer our Welcome to Kindergarten bag filled with resources for parents and guardians to use with their children in preparation for the start of school. And this year, all of our Welcome to Kindergarten will occur in June. We also promote visiting any of our early ons throughout the Windsor and Essex community. They're situated in many of our schools, a great way from birth to start of school to support students in their learning and supporting families and supporting students. We also have, this will be going out tomorrow, our Talk 10 campaign, which is really the positive word of mouth. That's the best way to build confidence within our system, is to share about the good work that is happening. So we welcome staff to talk to 10 people and just to share about the good work and the programming that's happening in the school. And that genuine conversation helps to build confidence and have families consider our schools. Something we started last year is including images of our students in our social media campaign. And so with permission from parents and the students, we have pictures from every school. And what I've realized is we have the most beautiful and most articulate students in all of Ontario. When I sit at my email and I get these images, like one more beautiful than the other, and more importantly, the words that come out of their mouths, I couldn't put a team of writers together to write something better because it comes from their heart. It's uncontrived what students are saying about what they love about our school system, our staff, our programming. New this year is we worked with our union partners and invited staff who wanted to come individually or as groups of individuals to share about what they're proud of in their school and their program. And what I've realized is we have the most amazing staff. You can see by their pictures, the smiles on their faces, and the words that they share, the passion for the work that they do. And so you'll be seeing this on social media starting very shortly, sharing about the good work in public education at the Greater Essex County District School Board. So kindergarten registration is open. In fact, we've had families selecting our school system as early as December registering. Officially, though, we open shortly, and we're looking forward to welcoming many families. And if you have any questions, I'm glad to answer them.
Trustee Burgess?
Thanks, Madam Chair. It is exciting. I'm wondering, in that resource bag, that swag bag, is there any resource in there for parents to know about that particular local school's school council or how they can contribute as parents, and an awareness of maybe of GECPIC, but certainly the school council.
The bag is paperless, so we include a QR code leading to the board webpage, to the school webpage, to even our community partners like Windsor Essex Healthcare and so on. So we've gone completely paperless, but it's leading them to sites to support that.
So might I ask then if on Reg night, if the school council chair is invited to attend and welcome parents as well? That would make sense to me.
I believe in the past, the chairs have been welcome. School council chairs have come. They're part at the school. They're actively involved. We have the daycare providers that are there, the EY, early on centers. Absolutely.
Any other questions? Trustee Kent?
I have a suggestion regarding the the QR code, and I would like to prefer a piece of paper and summarize those informations so it's easier for them to get access. Otherwise, the QR code lead to the website. It's a lot of information. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll share that with the committee.
Any further questions? Trustee Burgess?
I know that during pandemic times, of course, parents, haven't been as physically in the buildings, and so that's it's slowly coming back. Do we have any opportunity to revisit a day in the life, or is that something that we'll have to wait or to reintroduce, or have we abandoned that?
We haven't abandoned it totally. We are reintroducing the face-to-face this year, which we're really excited about because nothing replaces that. But this year we are doing a survey with all of our staff and from all the departments and from all the schools, looking for information about how we can get better. And we'll include the day in the life, which was very popular. I imagine it will be introduced, but we're seeking voice from our staff about what's worked for them, as well as parents during the JK registration period. We're welcoming them to give us feedback on how the experience was for them and what we can do better.
Thank you. Madam Chair, just to supplement, I asked that because sometimes kindergarten registration night is the night of the great blizzard, Sometimes it just doesn't go our way. People want to come, but they want to have another opportunity to maybe have that tour or whatever. So that's the only reason I asked. Thanks.
Hey, Madam Chair, at any time a parent can contact the school and make arrangements for a visit. Principals are well versed in showcasing their school.
Trustee Nelson?
Thank you, Chair. Great PR, first and foremost. Are we using the insight and the data collected on the socials to find out when is the best time to engage parents? And do we know which social media outlets gain the most eyes?
So our media person, Madeline, tracks all of that information for us, and we will include also questions in our survey as to what worked best for parents. Again, any suggestions of how we can better reach parents, better inform them, and giving them agency in selecting our school system, we want to know so that we can do better. You're welcome.
Anything further, trustees? Thank you so much. We have no delegations this evening, but we have one person on the speakers list. Claudette Bernier-Schiller, please come forward.
Thank you. Thank you. So I'll be talking about student academic achievement, excuse me. Madam Chair, and I'm sorry, I should have had my glasses on. I have oil in my eyes. Esteemed trustees, Director of Education, and Superintendents of the Board, good evening. My name is Claudette, and I'm really going to speak from my heart. I'm so sorry. I taught 20 years with this board. For the students of Greater Essex County District School Board, I was known as Madame Bernier, having taught French as a supply teacher and OT in nearly every elementary school. I'm here today to ask you to consider engaging with the community agency Feeding Windsor Essex. During my 20 years of teaching, I observed many students who were contending with depression, despair, hopelessness, and hunger. I had personally heard multiple students from grades 3 to 8 say that they wanted to kill themselves. I tried my best to support them at that time, but realized more needed to be done beyond my scope of responsibility and or capacity. I noticed that students came to school hungry and left school hungry. In many schools, students were struggling academically. Many were disruptive, making it difficult for their classmates to learn. With the added stress of the pandemic and its recovery, students have been struggling even more, causing teachers to now play not only the role of educator, but of social worker, counselor, and psychologist, as one teacher put it, speaking on behalf of the staff where she taught. The staff had received a package of support material, but this was inadequate. The principal of a local school informed me of recent mental health issues. She said the students don't have resilience and that they are not able to pay attention to their academics. Now they're not showing up and have very serious needs. I believe many of the disruptions then and now are the students' cry for help. I'm not proud to say this, however, I've often wondered, do the people of Essex County know what's going on inside the walls of our schools? Yes, I've had the privilege of teaching hundreds, perhaps thousands of precious students, and have taught alongside some very caring, devoted, unselfish, sacrificial teachers and administrators. However, during those 20 years of visiting one school after another, I cannot deny witnessing the suffering in many of those youth. Children are at risk of slipping through the cracks in this system by not receiving the crucial mental, emotional, and physical support they require. The suicide rate has not gone down in our Canadian schools. It is my understanding that according to current studies, the suicide rate in our school-age youth has increased 20% since pre-pandemic. This is appalling. The main objective of our schools is to educate our children, working to support each student's learning and nurture the development of a math mindset. Is that possible on an empty stomach? Is it possible when a family has to give up their home because of the increasing cost of living to live where? The students need hope for better days ahead, some more than others. Ensuring a student-focused budget with allocations to care for students in crisis is crucial. Certain schools would require more help than others. This budget could enable more available food to hungry students so that they may better focus and learn. It has come to my attention that a recently retired principal from this board volunteers with the organization Feeding Windsor Essex. Feeding Windsor Essex is willing and eager to work with a student-focused budget to provide food for the students while at school and for one take-home meal for the weekend. A student-focused budget could also provide free tutoring to struggling students during breaks or after school. My question to you is this: will this board commit to working with Feeding Windsor Essex to create confident learners through personalized learning, supportive environment, and trusting relationships? Feeding Windsor Essex helps to bring mental and emotional healing. When they have youth, families working together, they bond and do community. Our school community is counting on you. Thank you for listening to me. And I have some little cards from Feeding Windsor, if you would be interested. Thank you very much.
Do I have any questions of clarification for the speaker? Trustee McKinley?
Yeah, thank you for your presentation. I was just wondering, has Feeding Windsor Essex reached out to the schools that you're concerned about? Like, I'm just wondering, because I believe most of our schools currently have snack programs, and many of them have breakfast programs, and I'm certainly aware that we're doing what we can to help those programs.
Okay.
But has Feeding Windsor Essex made themselves known to the schools that they can help, or?
To be honest, I don't know. But I know that they have 11 sites around the city that are open to anybody 7 days a week. So I would think that our students get to benefit in that way at least. Um, you know what? That's a good question. I don't know, but I'm just going to say I think they have. I would think surely because of the way they spoke with me, but I don't know. So that's something that I can investigate if to say I will investigate.
Any further questions? Any further questions? Thank you so much. For
Okay, you're welcome, and thank you again for listening.
Do we have any new business this evening? Any new business? Superintendent Howard has provided some reports. I'll let her speak on K1 and K2 before we move forward.
The first report is the Science of Reading report. You'll find it starting on page 6 of your package. I did leave for trustees an amended page 15 on your desk. There is a slight change to the grade 2 results for your information. This report is submitted on behalf of myself and Superintendent Mike Wilcox, as we've worked in close partnership in support of the Science of Reading rollout in the system. The report essentially includes information about the Right to Read report, what the ministry has promised, and also what we have promised as a system and the work that we've done. In addition to the initial marking of Acadience scores for students that is demonstrating a need for our students to have support in reading. Most of those students were either in JK or not in school during the pandemic. And even when they were in school, masks were on faces, so they're not seeing the articulation of words. So it's demonstrating, as you have also acknowledged as a Board of Trustees, a need for support in this area, as well as information from our teachers about the learning that has occurred this past year. We are getting mid-report data in March, and we'll provide to the Board of Trustees in the fall, based on our support for student performance, the progress that we've made. But Superintendent Wilcox and I have a very short video. It's about 5 minutes, so you can see what's actually happening, boots on the ground in schools with teachers and kids.
We were lucky enough to experience the Science of Reading while we were at PES last week. So this you'll find this hopefully as interesting as I did when we experienced it in the meeting.
One of the most fundamental responsibilities of educators is to teach students to read. According to the Ontario Human Rights Commission's Right to Read Inquiry Report, word reading and spelling are foundational for being able to read and write and successfully interact with different forms of communication.
Pour créer des nouveaux mots. Comme, je vais vous donner un exemple. Imagine, ça représente le mot dans.
When students are not able to read, they are put at an incredible disadvantage that impacts their future life opportunities. The Greater Essex County District School Board is committed to providing an equitable, responsive, and comprehensive literacy program based on the science of reading that utilizes assessments and instructional practices to effectively support students to become competent and capable readers.
Dis le mot casse. Casse. Change k à t. Ah, bravo.
Along with science-based core instruction delivered by prepared educators, universal early screening is a critical part of reading instruction. This screening identifies students who are at risk for reading difficulties or are not responding to instruction as expected.
Pictures taken the next day.
Early screening ensures students are identified and receive the programming they need before they start to experience significant difficulties. This year, the Greater Essex County District School Board piloted the Acadience and IDAPEL screeners in 10 schools and trained all K through 3 English as a second language and special education teachers on the use of evidence-based diagnostic assessments.
Okay, so you just try, we're going to read all 10 of them, right? So try read here.
Food.
Decades of multidisciplinary research have shown that the best way to teach all students to read words is through direct, explicit, systematic instruction in foundational word reading skills. Beginning in kindergarten, this includes explicit instruction in phonemic awareness, the ability to identify and manipulate individual sounds in spoken words, phonics, which teaches letter sound associations, and using these to sound out and spell words. In kindergarten classrooms across the district, we are implementing Haggerty and B for reading in English classrooms and sonograph in French immersion classrooms.
O-I.
Slide.
Early, evidence-based classroom instruction and interventions that are fully implemented and closely monitored are highly effective in reducing the number of students who fail to learn to read. With effective classroom instruction, fewer students will need interventions in the later grades.
The benefit of using UFly and Haggerty and other systematic and explicit approaches is that students are not going to fall through the cracks. There is such a beautiful ability, we have such a beautiful ability now as educators to catch those students who are missing specific foundational skills and providing them with that instruction to help them continue to move forward. That is the number one benefit of the UFly and Haggerty programs. We now have the tools we need to keep those kids moving forward in their learning and becoming successful.
Maintenant, on va faire 4 sons.
Oh no! That's so tricky.
Oh oui.
Tier 2 includes more intensive, systematic instruction delivered to a small group of students, demonstrating a need for additional support. At Tier 2, evidence-based interventions must explicitly target the foundational skills of sound letter knowledge, phonemic awareness, decoding skills, and word reading accuracy and fluency. All K-3 homeroom teachers, learning support, RISE, and ESL teachers have received classroom literacy kits with hands-on materials to support targeted small group instruction.
I'm very proud of the efforts from our board and the staff here at Jack Miner School around the implementation and development regarding the science of reading. The teachers and I have felt supported with professional development, resources, and personnel in helping build our capacity in providing a rich structured Tier 1 and Tier 2 reading program for our students. As a result, I've witnessed a high level of implementation from our staff. We've also observed the benefits for our early years students and our primary students in becoming skilled readers.
Shift. Okay, remember we can use our diagraph here.
As stated by Dr. Louisa Motes, children can be taught to read and deserve no less from their teachers. Teachers, in turn, deserve no less than the knowledge, skills, and supported practices that will enable their teaching to succeed. There is no more important challenge for education to undertake. The Greater Essex County District School Board is committed to educator training as we continue to implement the recommendations of the Ontario Human Rights Commission and transition to a revised language curriculum in September of 2023.
Well, I know when we were at TES, Trustee Burgess asked the question and got assurance from, I forget who we were speaking with, that French and native languages are also included in the science of reading and preparing our students for that, and we were very excited to hear that. So I look forward to that. Does any of my colleagues have questions? Any questions for trustees? Trustee Burgess.
Thanks, Madam Chair. This is exciting, of course. I didn't realize that Dibbles had changed to Acadiens. And is that just a name change? Everything remains the same, or is there a shift there? But I did have a question about the 9 participating schools. How did we determine the 9 participating schools? Because I should imagine there were a lot of hands that go up that say, please pick me. So was that based on EQAO data or what? So if you could answer that, Dibbles, Acadiens, and how do we pick them?
The tool is very reminiscent of the original tool. In terms of the determination of schools, we divide the schools. Like we can't monitor math and reading and writing all at the same time. We don't have that capacity because it's a mammoth job, because of certain limitations that are involved in the system. So we divide the system into schools that we measure for math, schools that we measure for writing, schools that we measure for reading. We look at EQAO data and we try to get a cross-section of the board in each of those areas that we're measuring across the system. So, and in this case, you'll see that there were 9 schools and one of them was a French school. And just to your comment about the value of the French learning in the science of reading, I refer to specifically page 13 and page 14. That talk about that our board received significant funding to engage in the work, and we worked with ACP to prepare the learning of what that would look like with our French language learners, French as a second language in our immersion schools. And you'll see on page 14 that we are going to be the lead in developing the research of a diagnostic assessment for French immersion. So I'm really, really excited about that, and I really do need to acknowledge the partnership again between the special education department, Dr. Mark Crunwell, our speech and language individual, Melinda Hinch, Tammy Wilcox, Yvette Lehman, and our French consultant, Angeline Humber, who are extremely dedicated to this work.
Makes us proud of. Now, are we looking forward to this being a huge asset in our recovery program? It looks like it should be.
It is part of our recovery program, but it's also part of our equity work. This is about every student having the fundamental right to learn to read. So it's absolutely part of both.
Oh, Julia?
Just want to ask, because we've had several presentations over the years on science of reading, and of course we were kind of ahead of the curve on the right to read, I would say. So how many years has it been?
The right to read, it's listed in here, came out in 2021. And so here's the thing to note. We are ahead of the game. It came out February 2022, the right to read report, but we were planning for it in advance. And Superintendent Wilcox and myself sat down and said, we need to develop a system committee. We know this is coming. That right to read report was developed on a legal case that occurred in British Columbia 10 years earlier, which was a case of a student that didn't learn to read based on dyslexia. And so that has traveled now to the province of Ontario and has made it part of the Ontario Human Rights Commission. And so we knew it was coming. We prepared, and actually I was sharing with the director that we got a shout out at the provincial meeting for all administrators across the province as being one of the boards to follow in terms of our work. A lot of boards are doing good work, but it's nice to know that we're helping to lead in this area.
As we always do. Now, K2, Student Wellness Mindfulness Project. Anybody have any questions on that for Dr. Howitt? Oh, we have a presentation.
So I'm pleased to welcome Jody Nolan, and I'm sharing this on behalf of my colleague, Superintendent Sash Korbach. I'm excited to welcome Jody to share about the great work that she's helping to lead in our schools in this very specific project, which really aligns to the theme of the work of Education Committee this year around wellness. Thank you, Jody.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. So I'm here to speak on our mid-project report, my Mindful Classroom pilot project, empowering students and educators with science-backed strategies to support and bolster mental health and well-being. So this project will be delivered, our 8-week project will be delivered to many schools across the county and city, from kindergarten all the way up to grade 12. Kingsville, Queen Victoria, Anderton, Gosfield North, Herman Elementary and Secondary, James L. Dunn, North Star, Essex District Secondary School, Leamington District Secondary School. Oh, is there? That would be easier. Oh, thank you very much. Great. Okay. So the 8-week Mindful Classroom pilot project consists of one period weekly To visit the same classroom, kindergarten to grade 12 for 8 weeks. A science-based lesson from the Mindful Schools curriculum is taught, sharing a new mindfulness social-emotional learning strategy, the neuroscience, and a 2-minute practice challenge each week. Teachers are building toolbox or anchors bulletin boards to visually highlight the new strategies and practicing daily with the students. Pre and post data collection is being conducted for teachers and students from grades 6 to 12. Pre and post quantitative and qualitative data are being collected from the students and teachers for all 4 pilots in the elementary and secondary schools this year. Complete data will be analyzed and reported at the end of the 4 pilots in June. To date, a majority of the teachers involved in the pilot project report many benefits. 100% of our teachers reported that the lessons, tools, practices helped to decrease their students' levels of stress, anxiety in the classroom. So the blue is teachers that said yes, they noticed that it decreased student stress and anxiety very much, and orange is yes, I think it has helped. "96% of teachers report lessons have helped students' ability to self-regulate attention and focus better at school." And again, it's a yes very much or yes, it has helped somewhat graph there. 83% of our teachers report the lessons have helped students' ability to self-regulate emotions at school. Teachers learn and practice the strategies daily with their students each week between my lessons. 99% of the teachers report it decreased their own personal daily stress level at school. 100% of our teachers report, 22 strongly agreed and 1 agrees somewhat, that the Mindful Classroom project lessons in this curriculum are beneficial and worthwhile for teachers and students. The majority of students using the tools and doing the practices report feeling benefits such as falling asleep faster, sleeping better, increased ability to focus, better ability to regulate emotions, and decreased stress and anxiety. 74% of our students practicing the strategies report improved ability to cope with emotions. 80% of our students practicing the strategies report improved focus. Most students in the pilot project feel the lessons are good for students and teachers to learn. I think it was around 92% there. So what are students saying about these lessons? Students are reporting that they wake up. One student said, "I used to wake up in a bad mood a lot, and now I wake up feeling happier. I am focusing better at school. I am falling asleep a lot faster at night. I am no longer nervous to raise my hand and talk in class. Practicing mindfulness has helped me to feel calmer and make the butterflies go away. I can focus on my schoolwork for the first time, and I'm not yelling at my mom anymore." So, yeah, the feedback has been really, really positive. I know in the report, I think that you all have, you'll see some more of the student and parents comments included. And I just received this email last week from a teacher, grade 3 teacher at Anderton. "Good morning, Jody. I am writing to let you know how wonderful the Mindful Classroom lessons have been. I've been teaching for 23 years, and I've seen mental health issues over the years in my students. I think incorporating these lessons into the classroom and teaching students these strategies from a young age is the piece we were missing. I believe the tools you are teaching our students and myself will have a significant impact on our mental well-being, and it already has. This work is so important. Every time you come into my classroom and do a lesson, I have an aha moment and see so much value in what you're doing. I sincerely hope that this continues and that our board will train more teachers to do what you're doing. I think there is an overwhelming need for this in the school system. I wish I would have learned these things at a young age. One of the important things that these lessons do is teach people that it is all very normal and everyone goes through similar thinking patterns. I think a lot of people think they're alone in how they feel. Teaching the normality of these feelings and emotions, that it's part of life for everyone, makes you feel more at ease and open. Thank you for the time you have spent with my class. They have learned so much, and I'm so thankful that the board has created this important role and allowed you to get into the classrooms. You're a wonderful, mindful teacher, and we all appreciate you. so much. So outside of the pilot project, I visit different schools, generally about 1 day a week, doing the introductory lessons, social emotional learning, and resources from School Mental Health Ontario. One thing I really love about this curriculum is that it's accessible kindergarten to 12, and I visited PASS, and I'm working with the IB students in the high schools as well. It doesn't matter what your academic level is or your background, everyone can benefit from these lessons. Our whole year is booked, and there are currently 30 schools on a wait list for next year. Thank you.
Do we have any questions for Jody? I thank you so much for the work you're doing, and I know this is going a huge way in our refocusing our kids and getting our kids better equipped. Thank you so much, Jody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Trustee Kin?
Oh, excuse me. Yeah. Oh, thank you for your presentation. I do think 1 year, only 30 schools. Could you cover all the schools next year? Because I think it's very good.
It's actually a 4-year position. So we will reach more than half the schools with the pilot projects. That's our hopes. But I would love to have a team of people in this role. I don't know if that's possible or how we go about having that happen, but then we could definitely reach many more schools.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Do we have, this is trustee question period time. Do we have any trustee questions? Any notices of motion? Oh, sorry, trustee Burgess, sorry.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I wanted to know how our in-person, full-time, for the first time in a few years, exams went across our system. I heard that there was some extra preparation from principals and teachers and support staff to help kids overcome some, I would say, heightened anxiety about it. A lot of kids have never written high school exams, so I'm wondering if anybody has anything.
Superintendent Conti?
Yes, thank you, through you, Madam Chair. We did have our student success teams at the school working together across the system to develop lessons and develop how to write exam preparation lessons for the students and staff. We did have PLCs in our schools run by guidance and student success and the learning support teachers getting students prepared to write their exams.
I wonder if we might ask our student trustees, Chair Buckler.
Sure. I know I think Superintendent Canty mentioned at several schools, student leaders, including like peer mentors and peer tutoring programs, put together pre-exam workshops to give, especially to the younger high school students, grade 9s and 10s, about writing their first exams, what to expect, and that sort of thing, as well as that sort of programming coming from the LST and student success departments. I know several secondary schools also had students offering support, which is a program run through the University of Windsor, come to visit secondary schools to offer tutoring and support for senior level students writing science and math exams last semester.
Thank you so much, Paige. Did you have any input as well?
Yeah, I know there was we had a lot of preparation in class as well, and there was supports available if students wanted to felt more comfortable writing in the library, for example, rather than in class, if that was stressful for students. So yeah, there was a lot of support available for students coming back from the pandemic.
Sounds like we did a lot to help our kids. Thank you. Any notices of motion for tonight? Notices of motion? Any announcements for tonight? Oh, you had the list, did you not, of all the different things? Do you have it with you? We just have a lot on the calendar coming up. Please. Thanks, Anna. Sorry. Yes. Thanks so much, Anna. I appreciate it. We have Black History Month, Roads to Freedom with the GECDSB, resources, events, promotion all month. The Eating Disorders Awareness Week, February 1st to the 8th. Groundhog Day was February 2nd. Sweater Day was February 2nd. World Cancer Day, February 4th. Canadian School Counseling Week, February 6th to the 10th. We have Valentine's Day on February 14th. Sexual and Reproductive Health Awareness Week, February 14th to the 18th. National Flag Day of Canada, February 15th. Random Acts of Kindness Day is always a big deal on our board. That'll be February 17th. Family Day, February 20th. Ash Wednesday, Lent begins on February 22nd. Pink Shirt Day for bullying, February 22nd. Kindergarten Open House, February 23rd. And Rare Disease Awareness Day, February 28th. It will be a busy month. That is my fault. I should have printed that. That's my bad.
Good evening. I'm going to call the meeting of the Standing Committee on Operations and Finance to order. Our attendance is the same as the previous meeting. We have Trustee Hatfield and Trustee Sipkar on the phone. Approval of the agenda. Approval of the agenda. Trustee Cook, seconded by Trustee Buckler. All in support. It's approved. Declaration of conflict of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest? There are no conflicts of interest. Approval of the minutes for the October 4th, 2022 operational finance meeting. Do we have someone to make that motion? Trustee Cook, seconded by Trustee Buckler. All in support. That's passed. Business arising from the minutes. There is no business arising from the minutes. And we are on to presentations. G1, Service Quality Management System. Mr. Keith DeRoot is DeGroot. I wrote it down. I'm sorry, sir. Here to present on that, and the floor is yours, sir.
All right, is that better? Yes. All right, I'm Keith DeGroot at Process Engineer at Facility Services. One of the things I do is help look after our service quality system. Usually I come here and kind of present a different aspect of it, but I do see a lot of new faces, so I'm kind of going to try to do a little bit of a overview this year. So it also kind of starts with our mission statement, which is to enhance enrollment and support academic performance by partnering with all stakeholders to provide the best learning environment. That has been our mission statement for a very long time. It's withstood the test of time. I figured it out that I was still in elementary school when this first came to be. So but it's still relevant today, right? So, and I think it's fantastic. And what I see is our staff really embody this, creating the best learning environment. I follow the board's Twitter account, and I constantly see these tweets with our frontline staff going beyond their core duties, getting involved in the school community. You know, it's a plumber showing a couple kids how their electric eel works, or you know, someone else helping out at the toy drive, right? And these are just three quick examples. I see them continually, and I really think, you know, I just want to acknowledge doesn't matter what we kind of do more on the management side. It's these folks that are, you know, they're providing that best learning environment and really embodying that mission statement. So we also have a quality policy, and it describes what we do, how we do it, and how we sustain it. So what we do, we provide maintenance, custodial services, building renewal, which is our capital projects, facility rentals. We also health and safety, environmental, energy under our umbrella. How we do it, you know, it's about trying to provide quality service and to continually improve, and most importantly, understand the needs of our stakeholders. And the most important stakeholders really are our schools and the school communities. And then how we sustain that, we measure. We try to measure to see how we're doing, and look for those opportunities to find corrective actions and to keep improving. So just to give you an idea of the scope, I'm sure a lot of you know that we're 36,000-ish students, 5,000 employees. That's actually bigger than any one single town in Essex County if you look at population. Facility services, $38.6 million operating budget, 55 elementary schools, 14 secondary, 93 portables, 3 other, and 1 surplus building. So that's over 70 buildings, almost 5 million square feet. If you can imagine that, if you look across the river at the GM building, that's about 5 million square feet. But we have 70 plus very unique sites, not one consistent site. And each school is unique and has its special circumstances. So we provide maintenance. And our maintenance group is divided into, we divide the schools up into 4 areas. We've got 4 maintenance supervisors. They each have their own set of trades: carpenter, electrician, plumber. They've got 4 maintenance staff. Then we have, so what they do, they do any repairs under $5,000. They do all our preventive maintenance, filter changes, all that kind of stuff on our HVAC systems. They do minor installations to help out the schools, putting up school banners, plaques, whiteboards, those kinds of things. We've got minor capital projects where schools can kind of choose to do little improvement initiatives in their school. We got building security monitoring, fire and life safety. Then we have our operations department. Again, we're divided up into 4 areas. Our operations supervisors, they have about 55 to 60 employees each. looking after 2 shifts as employees to keep those schools clean. We have about 55 replacement staff to complement that 300 and some custodians we have. You know, and they're looking after, you know, cleaning, waste and recycling, landscaping, grounds maintenance, play equipment inspections, security response services. So whenever, you know, we get a break-in or something happens at night, you know, they're looking after that group. Snow removal, grass cutting, pest control, so a whole wide gambit of stuff for operations. Then we have our capital projects department looking after building renewal. They have 4 construction administrators in there. A snapshot in time, we were looking at 7 new schools worth over $100 million, over $6 million in building renewal, over $25 million in condition improvement. So, you know, it's a lot of work over a lot of schools that this group is looking at. You know, they're doing project management, they're liaising with our consultants, they're working with the school principals to try to minimize the impact of construction on learning. You know, and they're establishing those standards, you know, what are the best ways to kind of build schools and put equipment in there. Then on top of that, we have rentals, health and safety, energy, environmental. Even on the rental side, we've got, in a typical year, 500 to 600 rental permits and serving over 200,000 participants. So we are ISO 9000 certified for our quality management system. So this is a third-party certification board, and we have been accredited since 2003. So they do an annual survey, an annual surveillance survey on us, and every 3 years a recertification. So they actually send a third-party auditor down here to take a look at us. They spend this year 5 days at facility services and tour our schools and take a look what's going on. So in November, we had our first in-person in a few years, which was nice. They spent 2 days looking at our processes, 3 days in schools, and did a lot of school visits. So most important to us is really, like I said, understanding the needs of our schools. And we do a lot of things to try to understand this, from principal surveys, employee surveys. We do a lot of meetings with principals. And we have other methods to kind of get that input from schools. So we focus on continuous improvement. We have formalized change management where we look at our stakeholders, our risks before making any kind of change. We have a green flag process to welcome new ideas, red flags to mark any problems from principals or internal staff. And whenever we have a problem, we do a root cause analysis to really try to get to a good fix and solve that problem. We have a lot of KPIs, our measurements, we track them, we set goals on them, and we make plans if we don't hit our goals. We do our principal survey every year. The last 2 years before this, we had record highs. We dropped a little bit this year. I didn't have time to get the results on. They just came. We're still in green, which is good, but we did fall a little bit. So we're looking at the results and seeing where we can make improvements now. And that is a quick overview of facility services and our ISO 9001 system.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions of Trustee Burgess, and then Trustee McKinley?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Thanks for the presentation. I saw there that repairs under 5,000, is the criteria. We all know, because of the budgetary concerns about, our costs and our procurement and supplies, et cetera. Should that be revisited, or do you revisit that? Because it's been that way for...
Yeah, no, it's been that way for many years. Do you want to?
Certainly. Ms. Hinchliffe here, so Ms. Hinchliffe,
You know,
did you want to respond?
My point would be $5,000 doesn't get you what $5,000 got you 3 years ago.
Thank you. And I would say through you, Madam Chair, but that's not going to work. Exactly. I've had that exact conversation recently with our supervisor of procurement. That limit is challenging. Just, I don't know, in the last 5 years, the limit is 5,000 where we could issue a work order. Under 10, we could get one quote and issue a purchase order. She has recognized that that is becoming difficult, especially in this post-COVID time where it's very difficult to even get people to quote because everybody's so busy. So she's, I think, made recommendations to Superintendent Armstrong, and I'm sure during the next round of policy revisions, we will definitely be looking at those limits. But thank you for the question.
No supplemental?
I have another one, but
Thank you. Trustee McKinley?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on the ISO 9001 certification. That's not a common certification amongst all school boards, is it? I thought it was not unique.
Only board I'm aware of that's certified to that standard.
Anyone else for a first time? Trustee Burgess?
thanks, Mr. Chair. The survey, I didn't see any. I know that the organization Parents for Education, for example, put out on an ongoing basis, cyclical basis, condition of school survey for parents to engage in, and it's always been, you know, pretty eye-opening when they give their report. But have we ever done that through our school councils or anything? Have we ever included from a parents or community member, you know, on parent councils, on school councils? Have we ever surveyed them? Obviously, you've got the right list, but I'm wondering if we've ever surveyed parents on how they feel the condition of schools are.
I don't think we've directly surveyed parents. I think we kind of rely on the principals to understand, you know, their school community and their school needs, and that's kind of where we've been focusing our efforts.
Thank you very much. I will comment that facilities was a real true shining star during the pandemic. The work and undertakings that you had to do in addition to the just regular work that you would have normally taken on, I can only commend you and your team for the remarkable work you did. I do want to comment that I did run into a team on a Saturday in August prior to opening the schools for the first time during the pandemic for September, and the fact that they were working on a Saturday because I engaged them, had a conversation with them, and they said, the amount of work we have to do, we have to be here on Saturdays. And the fact that they stepped up and they did what they had to do is really a testament to the work that you as a group do. So thank you.
No, thank you.
And at this point, I'll ask Superintendent Armstrong to deliver the operational overview.
Whoops. Thank you. I'm happy to be here just to share some information about the business department. We have some new trustees with us now, so I thought it might be a good opportunity to just to talk about this briefly. So the business department and portfolio is pretty busy. As you can see, we have a number of responsibilities. We had the pleasure of listening to Mr. DeGroot tonight to discuss facility services, but along with a lot of the other financial business related items that you would expect, the business department also oversees things like the language assessment and the employment assessment services. We partner with WES, and we work with them on student transportation, insurance. You see from the variety of reports, even on the agenda this evening, that there's a lot of differing responsibilities as part of the portfolio. I am blessed with a completely outstanding team, as you'll see on this slide. Just to clarify, Umair Khan, who is our general manager at Windsor-Essex Student Transportation Services, is really more dotted line, and he would be represented similarly on every organizational chart within the business department of all the coterminous boards. So I just wanted to point that out. I won't go too much onto facility services since Mr. DeGroot did such an outstanding job, but this is the facility services management team, administrative team, and they are phenomenal. Can't say enough about the great work that they do. I think you've heard some of it this evening, and you hear about it frequently throughout other board meetings. As Mr. DeGroot's already highlighted, the department itself oversees, as you can see, over 5 million square feet of board infrastructure. We've talked about community rentals and community use of schools, that the outstanding work of our custodians and the work that they do, and as well as all of the work that the maintenance department does. So I won't continue on that. Capital projects, as we've already heard this evening, there's a lot of initiatives, as you are aware, with respect to that, involving renovation and new school construction, energy management, a lot of, like we said, renovations and major repairs. And our new school construction is over 125 million. We're working on 4 new schools, and 3 additions. Health and safety is a very important part of the facility services department. Particularly, we saw a lot of it when we were dealing with COVID-19. But as you can see, we, through the Health and Safety Department, they ensure compliance with the Occupational Health and Safety Act. They implement and make sure that they maintain all the board's health and safety, workplace violence, workplace harassment, and management programs. And they also implement and maintain the board's annual accident and injury prevention plan. Environmental and energy is also a very important component of facility services. They ensure that we comply as a board with the Ontario Environmental Protection Regulation 103/94, which is about recycling, compliance with the lead in drinking water legislation. The board's energy conservation and demand management plan is developed through the Facility Services Department. They've been an active partner in Eco Schools, and we are working, as you are probably aware, on a climate action plan that we will be bringing forward to the board in June. And also as part of that, utilities expenses is a significant expense, and they work proactively to try and manage that. Financial services is another outstanding team. Delighted with the work that they do. And here is the key management administrative members of that team. In terms of area of responsibility, they have what you would typically expect from a finance department. Some of the important other items that they oversee include scholarship and bursary accounting, which would be not something you would ordinarily see, I suppose, except in a school board setting. Lots of ministry and other governmental reporting. It can exceed over 100 reports just on that alone to the ministry. The accounting department, they oversee, reconcile, and maintain over 6,500 accounts, in addition to 70 accounts that are dedicated specifically to Windsor-Essex Student Transportation Services. They ensure, as I just mentioned, about compliance with ministry reporting and all of the laws and regulations associated with that. Important because all of those transactions are subject to both internal and external audit. They also monitor and process over 36,000 transactions annually. They process 2,500 accounts receivable invoices totaling $45 million annually. And they provide support to our budget holders. And we have over 100 individual cost centers that principals, superintendents, and other budget holders would be responsible for. Accounts payable has a lot of importance to our department as well. As you can see, they process payments of over 42,000 invoices for a little under 9,900 vendors, plus 100 West vendors, totaling $351 million annually. They also are responsible for processing and auditing the 300 corporate Visa cards that administrators and trustees have. They support the capital projects process from the initial payment to the release of the whole back. There's a lot of tax reporting. If we have a vendor that's an individual, we do have to issue tax slips to those individuals, so they monitor and report that. As well, they oversee over 100 school bank accounts as part of our school-generated funds. They audit those transactions to make sure that it is in compliance with our board's administrative procedures. And of course, they are always available to offer support to our principals, vice principals, and school secretaries. Payroll, we all love payroll. We would not survive without payroll. They process payroll for about 2,100 employees bi-weekly as part of 18 employee pay groups. Semi-monthly, they process 2,400 employees involving 4 employee pay groups. They process, their processing involves 13 various collective agreements and terms and conditions. They oversee the pension administration, reporting, and reconciling involving OMERS that has 1,600 members here at the board. And then there's all the related reporting that's involved as well with the teacher's pension plan, and that's 3,200 members. And they produced, as of last year, over 5,500 T4 tax slips, 315 T4A slips, and we'll see where we land this year. It's a busy time for them. This is their year end right now. And I have to finish the business department or financial services with purchasing and procurement. They're last, but they're certainly not least. This is a very, very busy department. They collaborate, do a lot of work with internal customers and external suppliers for the acquisition of all goods and services for the board, ensuring we do a fair, competitive, and transparent bid process. We have to follow the broader public sector, that's what BPS refers to, procurement directives. They issue over 2,500 purchase orders every year, 120 competitive bid processes. They pre-qualify suppliers in order to maintain an approved bidders list. They get hundreds of requests for quotes, asking for assistance related to that. They also negotiate contracts to try and mitigate risk to the board. They'll seek legal advice if it's required. They also work very closely with facility services as part of our new school construction projects. They're involved in assisting with the selection of the architect. They tender the work with the general contractor. They also assist with the procurement and the setup of furniture and equipment when we do open a new school. They maintain over 200 agreements with suppliers. They oversee over 300 purchasing credit cards with an annual spend of $2 million, and they have to manage all the requests we get from schools for surplus furniture and equipment. Also, a very important part of the business department is the budget. And we've talked about that many times. One of the functions of primarily the work that Sean does is to analyze the implications of new funding announcements. We look at year-over-year changes in the GSN, which is the Grants for Student Needs and other funding. We collaborate with senior leadership on budgetary matters and trying to determine what we feel budget priorities should be. The budget, as you can see, we have an operating budget of $487 million and a capital budget of $72 million. And we also have to report on a revised budget every year in December to the Ministry of Education. All of this is done through the ministry's reporting system, which is we call it EFIS, and we do it twice a year with original budget and revised budget. And we also provide to you quarterly reports on where we are on budget to actual. And I just want to finish off with social and community services because we don't talk about that a lot. So this is a picture of the administrative team of the social and community services. And we have 3 employment assessment centers located in Windsor, Kingsville, and Leamington that provide individual counseling using a hybrid model. They provide workshops, job fairs, training supports for clients, and financial subsidies to employers. This is all funded through the Ministry of Labor, Immigration, Training, and Skills Development. And they also work with community partners as well. And they also offer, through a ministry program, funding through the Jobs Ontario Jobs Grant, Canada Jobs Ontario Job Grant. And as you can see on this slide, they've been involved in a number of placement incentives and sharing those with employers throughout Windsor-Essex County. And they've been working on a lot of training opportunities to help employers train their job force, and as well as providing for new hires. As I've mentioned, they participate in job fairs. For example, Giant Tiger is an example of a job fair that our Employment Assessment Center hosted. They also provide employment-related expense incentives to clients so that they can get work clothes, safety shoes, they can get transportation, things that they need to help them be more successful in the workforce. They also participate in workshops at secondary schools because some of our students don't go on to post-secondary education. They go directly into the workforce, and so we try to offer services to them as well. The Employment Assessment Center also partners with our Adult Learning Center for much of the same type of services to collaborate and to provide assistance in job-related opportunities. And the other area that we offer services is in language assessment. That's done in regards to the Canadian Language Benchmark Assessment standards. It's offered to newcomers to help determine their reading, writing, speaking, and listening levels. It's a record-breaking year so far for the language assessments. Over 1,672 have been completed as of the end of December. And they are actively working. We work with Superintendent Howitt and the Newcomer Center to assist with a lot of individuals that are coming in from the Ukraine and Afghan individuals as part of the asylum seekers. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from trustees? No questions from trustees. Superintendent Armstrong, I'd like to thank you for the amazing work you do. As I've said many times, understanding the web of our funding that we get from the province is something unique and miraculous in my opinion. So thanks to those that work on all those different issues. Okay, so delegations. We have no delegations. There's nobody on the speakers list. There is no new business. So we are moving to reports. I would like to address K2 first. I would like to have a motion to defer K2 for it to come back at the next meeting. And I'll explain why.
Could I make that motion?
Yes, thank you. It needs to be reviewed for accuracy. So I have the motion on the floor. Does somebody want to second that? Trustee Buckler, all in support? Carried. So now I would like to move K1, K3, K4, K5, K6, K7, and K8 all at once. So would somebody care to put that on the floor for me? Trustee McKinley, do I have a seconder? Trustee Cook, I will now entertain any questions related to any of those reports. Are there any questions related to any of those reports? Trustee Burgess, because you're coming back in the room, I will ask you. We've deferred item K2 from reports due to review the accuracy of that report. And we've now put all the other K items on the floor to be received. And I'm entertaining any questions related to any of those K items. And do you have any questions related to any of those K items? Yep. Trustee Burgess?
Well,
It's already happened, so I'm not questioning the report on, I'm going to say page 39, I think, of the supplemental information on COVID-19 expenses. There's a whole pile of them. My question is, what's the status of reporting those COVID-19 related expenses? Will we still have to do it this year? I know funding has changed federally, provincially, et cetera, but do we anticipate this being the last report on this?
Superintendent
Depending on the status of the emergency measures, et cetera.
Superintendent Armstrong.
I can start the answer to that question through you, Chair. For 2022-23, it's called, the funding's called COVID Learning Supports, but it embraces far more than just cleaning requirements for COVID-19. It includes tutoring supports. It includes remote learning supports. So any separate reporting that would be required as part of that bundles a number of expenses, but does not specifically look at just the implication of COVID-19 in terms of ventilation and cleaning requirements and that sort.
Trustee Armstrong, you're next.
Just have a question on page 4. Is it a typo? It says COVID-19 restrictions began in March 2019. Page 4 at the bottom.
Thank you for the question. I believe it should be 2020.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Chin, did you have your hand up? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm taking a word. Yeah, I saw in the page 57, you mentioned anti-sex trafficking protocol. I would like to get more information about this. Have we made the protocol, or what's the past experience on that?
I can start the answer. Maybe Mr. Mayhew can answer that. This is funding provided by the Ministry of Education. They define how the board is spending funding. I spend that funding. I don't have that directly in front of me to be able to answer that. Any other detail, but it is ministry provided funding to school boards.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions on the items 1 through 8, except K2? If not, all in support of receiving the reports. Opposed? That's carried. Trustee question period. Are there any questions from trustees? Trustee Burgess.
Procedural one. My colleague has brought forward an amendment to the minutes. It's a small thing, but page 4,
The COVID restrictions began in March 2020. I wonder if we could just reconsider that.
Would you like to put a motion on the floor to reconsider?
A motion to reconsider. I was on the prevailing side. So.
100%. Is there somebody to support that? Trustee Burgess? Trustee Buckler. Trustee Burgess, would you like to speak to that? And then we'll call the question.
It's just to change the 2019 to 2020, and that way we can amend the minutes.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
all in support of the motion to reconsider to make that amendment to the minutes. Opposed? It's carried. Thank you. Is there any other questions for trustee question period? Notices of motion. Announcements. Motion to adjourn. Trustee Buckler, Trustee Cook, all in support. We will adjourn and move into public session.
Wow. I have a smile on my face. I hope everybody else does, because it's like 8:24. I'm staying here. So we're going to start public session, declaration of conflict of interest. Any declaration? None. Actions, any actions of the board in private session?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move item F1 from private session, a matter of personnel.
Support.
Do I have a seconder? Trustee Burt. Okay, Trustee Hatfield will second it. All in support? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'm looking for approval of the minutes, 2022-10-4. Trustee Leclerc and Trustee Burgess. Any discussion on those minutes? All in support? Awesome. Moving down to any business arising from the minutes? None? Okay, people, sit down because this is going really good. Recommendations from Standing Committee, any recommendations from the Education Committee? Any recommendations from Operations and Finance Committee? Notices motions, any notice of motion? There are none. I declare this meeting over at 8:25. Enjoy your evening.